Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining again to this episode of Let's Talk Nerd. And we have a very special guest today, like all of the guests we have. But we're going to be talking with Dataline about his music, his passion for games, how he started like playing music. And yeah, I hope you're all comfy from the couch, like just like I am right now. And I'm just not gonna say anything else. I'm just gonna introduce our next guest. So please say hi to Dataline. Hello.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Hi. Thank you for having me in your show, Flavia. That's very nice. Yes.
Thank you for accepting my invitation, and thank you so much for joining. I hope you're having a good time. How is everything going for you there?
Yeah, it's great. Right now, I'm just trying to hook up my little Nintendo into the streaming device, so maybe I can stream it into you guys. Maybe we're just trying to figure that out. Just the last moment of inspiration, like, oh, I could do that. So while I'm playing it, maybe I could show it on my screen.
Okay.
One of my latest gadgets. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see you're very loaded of gear.
Yeah, there's a bit there. Yeah.
Okay, let's start with the next question. This is like the basic one I always ask. Where are you from and where did you grow up?
Yeah, I'm from Istanbul in Turkey. That's where I grew up. I have an English background as well, my mom's side. So I was brought up in England as well, in the ages of like 10, or sorry, 9 to 11 till 12, around that time. And yeah, and then went back to Istanbul and continued there until I was 23, 21. And then I left for England. So that's where I'm from, actually, from Istanbul. It's a very nice place. Maybe some people listening right now, they've been there, but yeah, yeah.
It's definitely a good background, like cultural background when it comes to music and arts in general. So
Yeah, especially in a place like Istanbul, because there's a lot of people, so there's a lot of things happening and a lot of creation and stuff. Yeah, in that sense. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I grew up hearing a lot of weird music around me in that sense. Yeah, not the stuff that I'm surrounded by now. It was very different, I guess. Yeah.
well, that's kind of like the next question. Like, because you grow up, like you're saying that you grew up in Istanbul and then you also moved to England. So you had very different inputs when it comes to musical. What is your musical background, or what do you used to listen when growing up?
Yeah, I used to listen to crack intro musics on the Commodore 64 and Amiga. Was my favorite. Yeah, when I was like a child. The rest of it was just on TV and radio, and it was all the whatever was popular. Luckily, I have a brother, not had, Khan, and he listens to a lot of awesome music. So that was a really good input for me in that sense. But yeah, with the computer stuff, I remember like loading games and just listening to the soundtracks of them because they were really nice. Yeah.
So what do you recall as your first memory that had you made like excited about making music?
Uh, that that I'm like, excited making music in. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure it out, right? Because it's an interesting question where it's like excited, not this, like not when. Um, yeah, I think the time that it got really like I think I was thinking that yeah, I could actually make music doing these type of stuff. I think it was on using Fruity Loops around the years of 97, I think, something like that. Yeah, when I was 15, 16. Yeah, then I made this track on the Fruity Loops, and then it's like, yeah, I think I can. It got me really excited to have that vibe, that sound that I was discovering as well, like Orbital and Apex Twin and all the other stuff during those times. Yeah. So yeah, that was the time, and it was kind of like discovering music on a computer, on a PC. I didn't really have the hardware at the time. But then I think a year later, I got a sampler, and that got me really excited. So hardware, when I discovered that you can have these cool machines on the hardware, that got me really excited. And that's also the case. Yeah. But the first time was that track that I made. Yeah.
So you're basically saying that you got inspired by your own music.
Yeah, and that's maybe something a shameful thing to say, that yeah, I am inspired by my own music. Yeah, that's an interesting thing to say there. Yeah.
How do you get into like play music with Fruity Loops? Like, how do you got to that point that you started like playing recording?
How did I get to the point of using Fruity Loops again?
Yes.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out how to make electronic music, because I was listening to Orbital and all the other cool stuff that I could get my ears on, and I was trying to figure out. And there was these weird other applications that I managed to find on the internet, the dial-up internet in the late 90s in Istanbul. Oh yeah, we had this, the phone line. It was analog, so it would randomly drop out because it wasn't a stable line. It was, anyway, I'm not gonna get that. Was always internet there. So I found these two applications that would emulate a synthesizer, basically, and then you have this sequencer. So I would run them both at the same time. One was making something else, and the other one was something else. And that was the first time that I was trying to make multi-track stuff on a computer, because I didn't know about Fruity Loops. And then I was like, looking around on the internet, and I was like, oh yeah, I have to get a crack of this. Then I learned everything on Fruity Loops. Lots I learned there. So that's how I got into it. Is basically trying to figure out how to, make stuff on this with sequencing and sampling, and synthesizer, and then basically understanding what these parameters are and everything. That's that. So it was kind of like a learning platform. Fruity Loops big time. Also cool edits. Yeah, I was using that a lot too. So I think that's the pre-Cubase. Oh, maybe not. I'm not really sure. Because after that, I didn't really follow the computer stuff. That's not really the question, but talking about it, I used Fruity Loops, and then I started getting these drum machines, the DR202, the Dr. Groove Boss, the DR202 it's called. It's like a black and an orange box. You guys should search it online. It's a very clunky box with these big pads. Yeah, and it's hard to press. Orange text, blah blah. Yeah. So yeah, when I started getting into that, I was like, oh yeah, this is really cool. Then I managed to get a sequencer, a Yamaha QY300, and then my friend had an MS2000. We both bought it a few years ago. So when I hooked them all together, I was like, oh yeah, I don't need a computer anymore. So I managed to leave that because I never enjoyed it in that sense. It was a good tool to learn on, but that comes to something still I have in myself. I don't find creative on the computer. However, there you go. Yes.
Talking about, right?
Yes.
Cute one.
Yeah. But hey, I mean, this one, I had this as my main drum machine when we were in the band Drugbox. But that's another question maybe, but let's not jump into that. But this used to save the BPM and the mute states. And then I got a machine drum. I sold this because I had to fund the machine drum. And the first thing I noticed on the machine drum, it doesn't do that. You cannot save BPM per pattern or the mute states. It was really disappointing. I lost a big workflow that I was relying on, thinking that the machine drum would do that. Nada. Yeah.
Okay. Before going into like deep stuff, I would like to mention something that I didn't say before in the intro, and is that you guys are watching, you can ask any question you want. That's the whole point of what I'm doing this and why we're all here. So you can just have the freedom to ask him anything you want about his life, his career, and all the things that you actually always wanted to ask him and you didn't have the opportunity. There is a question from Boris who is asking that he's been talking to a friend about the notion of community in Berlin, specifically in the music scene, which seems to be very isolated. What is your take on that?
So sorry, what do you say? Say again. It cut out in the last bit.
What is your take on the music scene here in Berlin? That for him it seems very isolated.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I can't really say much because I didn't really go out in Berlin so much to say that. It's honestly, it's like, yeah, and I'm saying this because there is so many places to go in Berlin in terms of music and what type that you're after. It's not only techno, yeah, there is that and other stuff as well. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know what to say really. Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about if I start talking about this.
All right. There is another question from, I think it's Diego from Madrid, is asking, which is your favorite electro machine and why is the Octatrack? And if it's the Octatrack.
And why is the Octatrack? So the favorite is really the Octatrack.
Well, actually, I would say like, is still the Octatrack your favorite one from Elektron, or do you change your mind?
I think Octatrack is like something that I really, really need to do the music that I like doing, and it does the stuff that I really enjoy doing. Basically, yeah, it's got the inputs and the fader and the sample tracks, and then you have the memory card. Yeah, it's really, really good in that sense. But my favorite, I think, is going to be a very tough one. Yeah. I mean, I guess the Digitone is really good in that sense because that does the music that yeah, it's a very, very kind of like closer to my heart than an Octatrack would do. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm going to say the Digitone is my favorite, but the Octatrack is the most useful gear from Elektron in my personal usage, I would say, yes.
So you would say that as an artist, you prefer Digitone, but in terms of playability, is more Octatrack is more like useful in that sense.
Yeah, playability in terms of like, connecting things together. It's a very good tool. That's the way I use Octatrack. It's like a tool that I cannot get rid of. But in terms of its sound and what it does, Digitone is my favorite. Yeah.
There is something that I couldn't find, and I'm gonna ask you if you can actually remind me. There is a video of you with the Octatrack, and we're gonna get to that point. I think that was the beginning of you as a YouTuber, you getting into Elektron as a company, working for them. And do you remember the title of that video so I can show it here for them?
Which title of the video?
The one that your friends recorded you playing. I think it was not Octatrack. It was a machine drum or Octatrack. I don't remember.
You mean the first video?
The beginning of everything.
Yeah, of course. Okay, I get you now. Let's see here. Yeah, funny. Let's see if that's gonna work. If you go on YouTube and search Dataline, and then number 1, machine drum 1 or something like that, it should come up because that's what it was the name. Dataline, then one machine drum. There you go. Yep.
Okay, can you please send it to me over chat and here a second? Then I'll post the link so you guys can actually watch it later on.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Let me see. I'm just gonna show it to you guys. There we go. This is really funny. Okay, I'm gonna share the screen. Well, you guys enjoy this.
Oh. Yeah, this was the time that I was really discovering the machine drum and starting to make, like, how to say,
Is
songs.
July of 2009. That's a lot of years.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
basically, that was the beginning of everything. How, like, can you please say the story about that?
Yeah. I mean, how Dataline started.
No, I tell you the story of that video.
That
Like,
video. That
yes.
video was like, yeah, it's um, yeah. I was working with a colleague called Dan Drogi. Maybe he's watching. He's always active with these things. Yeah, he recorded. It was on his computer. He brought his laptop. So yeah, we were talking like, I was showing him machines that I was the machine drum that I had at the time, showing him that, oh yeah, this is really cool. And then the mono machine I had, yeah, he was getting into it too. And so I showed him what I was doing, and he was like, "Man, you should record this. You should really do something with it." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know, maybe, yeah." So he came around and he did it himself. He put the laptop on top of the speakers, the same speakers that I have right now. It was on that, on the laptop, and then he put the camera down like this so that you would see it, and that was the video. And then I posted that, and then yeah, it seemed to work out that I was enjoying to share what I was doing. Yeah, but I mean, of course, it wasn't just a smooth sail from there on. It's yeah, it was very up and down and different, and yeah. That's the kind of story of the video, is that it was just randomly happened that he came around and yeah, helped me out doing it.
Would you say that was the beginning and the reason why Elektron contacted you to work with them? Because it was, as you said, it was not an easy machine to play with.
Yeah. So sorry, the machine drum, you mean? It was not easy to play with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't, and it took me a long time to get used to it. I mean, I got the machine drum in 2005, I think, around that time, and yeah, it took me a long time, but I've been following it. No, I think it was 2003, actually, earlier than that. I got it 2005 was the mono machine, yes. So yeah, exactly. Shit, that's a long time ago. Yeah, wow, really cool. Yeah, so it took me a while to learn it, and I'm the mono machine, yeah. But what really got me in contact with Elektron was, I think, the Octatrack, because that's really made sense that, you know, the brand needed someone to show these machines, and you know, be creative with them, and push the business forward with that. And but yeah, it was the Octatrack when it came out, and that's a story too. It's like, so the machine drum and the mono machine was out with Elektron for like many years, and I would always imagine that what else you could do in this sequencer, right, in this type of box. And I was actually at the time imagining that it would be a modular type of synthesizer. So each of the pages that you have on the machine drum or Elektron box, you will be able to change what type of LFO or blah blah. It was my idea. And then they released the Octatrack, and I was like, damn, this is going to be really good if I have this type of sample storage access in this type of sequencer and workflow, which is the Elektron stuff. Let me move this a bit. Yes, that's better. Cables. Yeah, and so then Octatrack came out. I was instant like, yeah, this is going to be really nice setting for me. Yeah. So I got one instantly. I was working at Gear for Music at the time, so it was kind of easy because I had a staff discount, and I could say to the purchaser, "When is it coming, man? Do you have it?" You know, yeah, it was, and it was Christmas time, and yeah, so I got it. I think it was November, or no, it was later than that. It was delayed. They said it was going to be out in December, and of course it was delayed. That's the Elektron delay, the special. The analog delay of Elektron is the actual delay of things. That's weird.
All right.
But this is kind of a you can say that for anything, any brand. Everybody does that. It's a very common thing, pushing it,
We
trying to.
can't forget we are humans making machines at the end of the day. And
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a kind of a funny thing. So yeah, it was going to be out, and then it was not out, but in January it was, and yeah, it was. I couldn't use it at first, but then I got used to it, and then this gig came up. I could play, so I worked really hard for 2 weeks, like especially with the factory content. I didn't put any samples or anything. I was just like, I'm gonna make tracks on this using just what it has in it, and that's the way that I learned the Octatrack at first. And it was, as learning an instrument, which is because I personally think these are instruments in that sense that you have to pay attention and train your memory and your brain and your muscle memory and where the things are. So when you desire something in your brain creatively, you can instantly react that on a machine, and that for me is an instrument in some ways. So that takes a while, especially with a machine that has many features. So I learned the Octatrack, and because it was new and it was a tough start for Octatrack, the OS was very crippled and a lot of features were not there. So it wasn't really getting the attention or the outputs that the machine could do. But I broke my back and I did the gig. I recorded it, and then I posted it online. And yeah, that got really the attention of the guys in Sweden, my colleagues, yeah, and my ex-colleagues. Yeah, and we met at Music Messe. They wanted me to present the Octatrack there. This was the Music Messe, I think, is it 2010 or 9? It could be, yeah, something like that. And yeah, after that we get along, and then we started doing stuff together, freelancing a bit, time to time. And then it got more. We even did like a Europe tour together, doing presentations. And then a year or two later, I moved to Sweden, and yeah, rest is history. Yeah, that's that kind of the story of how I got into this thing. Of course, during those times, I was working at Gear for Music. It was a retailer, and then I worked at Red Dog Music in Edinburgh, doing a lot of Dataline music stuff and learning the machines, and understanding the interaction and why is really attractive this market and these synthesizers to people. Because I'm really curious about that side of it. As much as I enjoy the machines using it myself, of course, I'm really interested in the culture of it around it. Because when you release a machine like this, people make music on it, good or bad. That's taste, it doesn't matter. But there are stuff released on these machines, and some of the features they do, is unique to themselves. And that kind of defies the music that is coming out in some ways, one way or another. At the end of the day, the sound there may not be in the record, but it has inspired the artist to get to that sound in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I'm really interested in that side of it, and that circle comes into the business side of, and that's what I do in my current work now. Yeah.
There is Mandy is here, and she's up, like, going back to the question about your favorite Elektron box. She was surprised that it's not a machine drum or mono machine. So what would you say that, how has that changed through the years since you started with this gear until now? How that has changed, and which was your favorite one in the beginning and until now that is digital in that sense?
But before I say that, there is somebody saying all silvers. There you go. I'm talking about it. Yes. Yeah, these boxes are still unbeatable. They're the best boxes that, in my opinion, that we've done so far. Yeah. Really like the look of them, everything. Yeah, machine drum and mono machine. Of course, they're classics, but they're, in my opinion, as great they sound and everything, the sequencer is limited in them for them, especially for the type of music that I want to make. It doesn't have the trick conditions or the scale per track, getting into detail a bit, but those are crucial for me to be comfortable and spend time on it and make something that I enjoy releasing. Of course, I still use them as like I send MIDI into them, and that's really good. And honestly, as much as I'm whining about the missing features in these boxes, it's really cool to just take them out, plug the headphones or record it, and just have a go at it. And yeah, they're magical. And that's another thing that, you come with these new features, the time passes on, we're focusing on like, oh, how to make it easier, how to make it better, and then maybe you're forgetting the essential thing. That's, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. It's in terms of sound, the machine drum and mono machine, man, I would love to see it in the current sequencer. That would be amazing for me. So it's a very tough thing. It's like saying, oh, Digitone, so no machine drum on mono machine. Yeah, it's Digitone does those tricks that I really enjoy in the sequencer, and the other ones don't. And they all sound great. Yeah, so it has to be that's the thing. Yeah, but I use the machine drum and mono machine as a side dish when I'm connecting the machines. Yeah.
Okay, the next question is actually something that many people might don't know. In the beginning, before Dataline, I know you played in a band. How was it called? And can you please tell us about it?
Yeah, it was the band. Yeah, it was called Drugbox. It was in Turkey, in Istanbul. My friends Görkem, Mert, and me, and Kudret. There's four of us, sometimes three, sometimes four. So I was doing the electronics, the drums, and the drum machine, and the keyboard through an guitar effect box. So it was a really cheap keyboard that just played these basic tones, and then the output would go into an effects unit. The Zoom 1010 101. Oh, weird name. I think it was 1010. Yeah, so that's what I was doing to the drum machine and the sampler that was next to it as well. Then there was a guitarist and a bassist. We would jam together. It's basically, the band's name was called Drugbox, so we would just get zoned out and just jam our heart out. And then when we catch a good riff, we would be like, yeah, that was really nice. Let's play on that. And it would become a song. And then we could play it again as a band. So it turned into that. It was this trio or sometimes four people. It started as three people. Yes, that's what it started as. And then Görkem joined later on. And then we played in some of the bars and pubs in Istanbul. Yeah, we were just weird and doing it. I think this was around the years of 2000. Yeah.
Were you singing in the band?
Sorry?
Were you singing in the band?
No, I was singing before. That's my Mark 1. Yeah, the debut, the first time that I entered the music was basically singing. Yeah, that's a deep secret.
It's not deep anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. Oh, yeah. So were you asking, which band? But yeah, Drugbox was the one that flared me into, understanding how can I do the music that I want? Because I never had a classical training or a musical training. I wanted to really chase for that many years, but I couldn't get the one I could get. So I had to do with what I could get. Yeah.
So basically, your musical background is directly related to computers and machines, basically. In that sense, how you learn.
Yeah, you could say that. I also played some guitar. That's one of the first instruments. I guess when we were like children, we were like just saying, "Oh, I want to play an instrument." The feeling that I remember, I wanted to play the drums, and yeah, that didn't work out. My mom didn't buy a drum kit. Of course, she got me with really, guitar, classical, yeah, plastic strings. It wasn't even, yeah, I had this automatic low pass filter on it type of thing, but I don't know a guitar, so I don't know. But so yeah, I was trying to play the guitar and went to some lessons, and it was like, man, this is so boring. And it was the time that I was talking earlier, the Fruity Loops and trying these little applications on the computer on a PC. I think it was 166 MX with I think he had 8 megabytes of RAM at the time. But then I upgraded to 32 gigabytes of RAM, so I could emulate Neo Geo games and the all Capcom games as well on it. Yeah, that's a different one.
And what kind of music then they used to listen when you were a teenager?
or
like
teenager, earlier. Yeah, there was a moment, the bits that I was really into Corn and Limp Bizkit, that type of stuff. Rage Against the Machine, Incubus. Let's try to remember what else there was. Slipknot. Yeah, I was listening to Slipknot the other day. Yes. Who else there was? There was a lot. My brother had these CDs. Marilyn Manson, of course.
right.
Yeah, of course. Atari Teenage Riots. Yeah. There was Godsmack. Yeah, that was weird. System of a Down, but it's still good. That's something special anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was all these new metal type of stuff that I really enjoyed listening. Wearing baggy trousers. Yeah. In that hot Istanbul weather, walking to Taksim, baggy trousers. Yeah. And that quickly turned into some weird electronic stuff. And it was those times when, of course, I was listening to Radiohead, which was one of my favorites. And they started doing electronic as well at the same time that I was like, what the hell is what's going on with these electronic music stuff? And it was a nice thing to follow them and then see that they were getting into it. Yeah, that was one of the things the Radiohead did, is the Chaos Pad that they used on the MTV live performance they made for Vicky Day. He was sampling himself and then doing a rewind. Yeah, that was like one of the more important. It was an important part at the time. I think that's happening. Yeah, that type of band using that type of electronics and doing it like that. Yeah. But this is. I wonder when was that? Yeah, but anyway. Yeah.
There is another question, and I'm the messenger. You do as you please. Is there any product you regret selling?
I'm
sorry.
Wow. Yeah, I really regret selling Gear for Music drum kits. There was these. Maybe we can. I don't want to download anybody. No, that's not right. But
I know what you mean.
yeah, but there was this. I used to work at a retailer, Gear for Music, and I was a customer service there, and we used to sell all these stuff like it would be drum kits and guitars and flutes, and I'm pretty sure the business is still going, and I know they're really big now, and but they were made in China, so there was a very cheap version of them, and it was very good for like children, get started on it. For that, it's very good, but seeing the waste, the actual waste and the resources that it's taking, and because they're like mass produced and most of them are not perfect, and for a music instrument it's very delicate, especially for a drum kit or something.
Yes.
So the waste was very high. So that's where I'm coming to. That's something that I really felt bad at the time. Like, are we really doing this? And yeah. But I guess that is not the question. So I kind of skipped around a bit.
See that?
That's what I regret selling.
So like I meant anything you had but sold yourself, like
yeah, that's a much better
of your gear that you actually.
Yeah, very good question. What do I regret getting rid of? Man, I sold a lot of stuff to get that machine drum. Yeah, so I think that's the time. For example, I had an Innovation case station. That was really nice. That would be nice to look at right now, actually. That was a nice synthesizer. Innovation case station. And then I think the thing that I really regret, the Yamaha QY300 sequencer. And it had a disk drive. Damn, it was so good. We got this Amiga disk drive in it. Yamaha QY300. That I really regret selling, and maybe something that I'd like to get again. Yes, maybe I should. Let's go. Oh no. eBay.
Yamaha
QY 300.
300. All right, let me check. What's here? There is another question which I think is very interesting. If Elektron have never existed, what do you think your setup will be like?
Yeah. Before Elektron, until I managed to get Elektron, I saw Elektron in 2000 when they released the machine drum. Yeah, that's a nice story, actually. I'll quickly tell it. Me and my bandmates in Istanbul, we were really high one night, jamming. And I was so tired of that damn drum machine. That's Boss Dr. Groove 202. What a name. Oof, Dr. Groove. So I was like, fuck this shit, you know. We were getting better as music and expressing ourselves. So the machine is not giving you it. It was really limiting. So I searched on Google, world's best drum machine, world's #1 drum machine. That type of stuff I was searching, and then machine drum came up, and it was a tagline of it. Well, yeah.
So basically, you're saying that after, until you got into the Elektron machines, if you wouldn't have that choice and Elektron would have never existed, for example, which would you think that you will be your gear and your setup right now?
Yeah, I was gonna come to that. It's like I was using the Electribes.
Nice.
The machine drum. Yeah. So I saw the machine drum there in 2000, and of course you cannot buy that thing, and especially in Turkey. I was working as a barman, getting paid payly. Didn't even have a tax number. It was a very different life, and it was awesome. So yeah, you cannot buy stuff like that in that sense. And so instead, when I managed to get the second-hand Yamaha QY300 in Turkey, which was a very random luck. So that's what I was using, and an Electride. But today, what it would be, that's the actual question. Let's not get carried away. I really don't know, actually, honestly. It's a very good question, because I really enjoy the way that the Elektron workflow is. And of course, just like anything, it doesn't make everybody happy. But for me, it ticks a lot of boxes. It does everything right. And of course, I have, wishes and stuff that it should do differently. But, it is what it is. I think I would really like to get my hands on, what was it? The Scottish sequencer. What was God, I can't remember the name. Yes, of course. Of course I can.
Everybody.
That I would like to get my hands on, yes. Because, there's a lot of things that you can make sounds with, like little synthesizers or samplers, especially nowadays. But with a sequencer, it really shines. It really starts making sense, at least to me. Yeah, it's a hard question. It's a very hard. Who knows? Maybe I will be just using computers and Ableton. Yeah. Yes, that's the one.
This is the one, isn't it? It actually looks very mint.
And you have the disk drive at the bottom right. You can't see it on this picture. So you would save your patterns and your sequences into the disk as like projects. So if Elektron users are here listening, your projects would actually be on a disk drive, on an actual Amiga 3-inch floppy disk. It was really cool, actually, and it would load just like an Amiga would. You had that sound, this drive sound. But I learned a lot on that one. I connected it with MS-2000. I learned how to do MIDI CC and MIDI notes, and how do you do MIDI channels? How do you chain link MIDI gear so you can have multiple gears in one MIDI chain? Yeah, I learned a lot, and yep. On Even says QY300 looks sick. I totally agree, and just look at it now. We have to get one, I guess. Yeah, don't have enough gear.
I support that idea.
Yeah.
It looks really cute.
Yeah.
Well, guys, for the new people who is coming, feel free to make any question. That's what we're here, and just hanging out and talking about nerd stuff. My next question, it is for you as an artist. Checking on your music from the beginning, until today, like nowadays, you are very eclectic. Like one of the things that I do like is that when I go to, like when I see you performing, I don't expect something, like I don't expect the same things every time you're playing. Is that, my question is that related to the gear? Is that related to your mood? What is that related to? And why do you actually don't like to follow just one single style? Because that's one of the things that many other artists um, don't want to or don't have the chance to do because of the profile or many other things that are like related to the industry, for example. But why don't you do it like that?
Yeah, I mean, I like to change the style. That was the last part of the question because there was another one before. But let's do the yeah, the style. I really want to change it because I want to make the music that gets me excited. And if I'm doing the same style of music for a long time, I kind of get bored. That's what I notice. And and, and people who listen to my music. I mean, when I look at it personally, yeah, it's changed a lot, and I like that. I want it to change. That's an important thing for me. Lately, I'm into more like you set the BPM around 80, 90, and then you put like double beats on it. That type of stuff I'm really into now. So basically, combining a bit of techno with the dubstep type of beats. Yeah, so that's the current stuff that I'm into now. And you were also asking that when I'm performing, you don't get to hear the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always kind of changing. I remember what somebody said. Yeah, that yeah, this was in Los Angeles, I think. It was those times when I started making drum and bass beats in my music, and not everybody likes it. And I did get like criticism. People were like, "Nah, I'm not into drum and bass stuff. You shouldn't put those samples in there." No. I'm like, oh, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's fun for me now. It's getting me excited. And then the guy literally was like, "Man, I drove all the way here to hear this drum and bass. I want that techno shit. What are you doing?" And he was kind of serious about it. Yeah, and this is related to the gear as well. I mean, yeah, the gear is very very related in this because the music that I like to do on this gear is keep it really on the machines. I'm not really happy with the computer stuff. Yeah, I'm not happy in my own hobby, but for work, the computer is invaluable. I work on Ableton, and that's how I do my sound design and whatever I need to do for Elektron and stuff. For my personal work too, it's yeah. But in terms of creating a piece of music that is a sequence and has a bass and a melody and beats, yeah, this is the workflow that is really good. And that allows me to be very manipulative when I'm playing these compositions I made on these boxes. That's my favorite thing about the Elektron boxes. And there was a question before, what else would you use if there was no Elektron? I would use another box that does all the same stuff that Elektron does. And so, I find myself really comfortable, and I can see a lot of stuff that is missing, and it can be very valuable to other users. And that's kind of where my work comes into place, and that's what I do for a living. That's kind of very exciting for me to find solutions where you want to have more features on an interface, blah blah.
Talking about that, which is the machine that you think that has got the most of you, like in terms of that you have given your input and as an artist, a musician, and that actually people can enjoy it right now because of that input you gave to the developers?
Of course, one thing to mention here is all like a teamwork. There's a lot of ideas going around, and I think when I started, they already made. There was like a prototype, not a prototype, but it was on a render. It was a 3D render. It was analog 4. Yeah, so those type of designs were really set. But I think to answer your question, it would be the Digitacts with the pattern BPM and the mute save and the control. Those are the ones that I really pushed for. Like, yeah, get them. Yeah. I think that's quite a specific answer. But like I said, this is like a lot of discussions and imagining, hearing a lot of ideas and discussing, and what is actually possible. That's also the case. It's quite easy to imagine really cool ideas, and you're like, yeah, let's do it. But I'm not an engineer, so I don't really know what is possible or not. My perspective is very different. I just want to be able to be as close as the users, the artist's brain as possible through a mechanically engineered metal box or a plastic box. I don't know, this type of interface. That's where I'm coming from as an artistic point of view. But the engineers, that's another level that's unfortunately I'm not aware of. So there's a lot of limitations as well. But yeah, the Digitact, the DD series workflow that I think had a lot of input and a lot of practice as well. Yeah, that would be the answer, I guess. Yeah.
Well, as a Digiton user, I can thank you for that then.
I'm not saying that this is totally my idea. It's not, the message shouldn't come across like that. But this was one of those things that I was really pushing for when we were talking of making a new type of box. That it wasn't like an octatrack or a machine drum or the analog machines, like a rhythm.
Yeah, that's what I want.
A new type of platform, so to say. But that was the first thing I was saying. Yes, please fix these, and as a result, now if we come to the current times, what I'm saying, this is like 4 years ago or something like that. I remember it was a nice summer, and when I first saw the Digitact render, instantly I was like, yeah, this is gonna work out. Yes, let's do it. And then we discussed this a lot, and now when I think about it now, I hear from a lot of people that they're like really praising this mute mode, especially that it's really worked out for them. I remember Jogging House when he came over to Elektron Studios Berlin, when we did the event together with him. He was asking me, what is that purple mute mode? I don't get it. It's so confusing. And I showed him that, you can actually save which mutes that you would like per pattern. So when you switch to a pattern, the mutes will be set. So it's almost like a song mode that you have to perform on. Or you could even call it like the Ableton scene mode. So, you have to unmute them to launch those clips. So it's like that. Yeah, so it was, it's nice to hear that. And again, I'm repeating myself. It's not only my idea, and I did not code this thing in.
I don't
think a lot of people like putting a lot of hours in, like trying to make this thing as usable as possible with the limitations that we have.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, I agree that is at the end is one team working really hard to get all of this, but it's from my experience, and I'm not bashing anyone, is that developers need musicians and musicians need developers. Without the developers and the engineers, we wouldn't have the gear we can actually play right now. We can have like so many types of it, and at the same time, thanks to musicians and people who are so much into this gear, developers can do it better and make the next machine better, more useful, more playful, more fun, and changing things that maybe in their head wasn't something important when they were developing some other gear like 10 years ago, for example. So I do think that's what I was saying. Like, thank you so much, because in my opinion, I think it's something that it's been a game changer. Like this another comment here. Like BPM per track has been a game changer for anyone using the boxes live, and that's what I'm saying. That it's really important to have people like you in general in every single company, whether the workflow is, that can give that input that the people from the outside is asking for. Is really important. That
Yes. And that's a really interesting part, because each time that you make a machine, that the ideas are evolving.
Yeah. Exactly. And
that's why you need to stay ahead of the time. You need to have the finger on the pulse. It's a very interesting thing, I reckon.
Well, that's good. And technology is always evolving anyway, so we have to catch up somehow. So next question is, we already saw your first video on YouTube. Somehow, in my opinion, I think you were one of the beginners and pioneers when it comes to like the YouTuber area, in terms of putting your music on YouTube, playing it, showing the gear you're using it, showing how you're using. Although you weren't talking or making any tutorial, like there's so many out there right now. What do you think about the current YouTuber situation?
Yeah, there's quite a lot of them. There are a lot of people making content. That's the situation, I would say. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's I mean, hard to say. I don't personally really. It's not really my cup of tea. I guess that's one thing I could say about the situation. And I mean, the YouTuber is a different thing, and I think it's kind of like useful for people in terms of, if you want to learn about the gear and you want somebody to kind of like read the manual, read the manual for you. I think it's useful for those people. But yeah, I usually don't watch it. My favorites, if you ask me the situation, Nick Bat's Sonic State. That's for me. That's the first one. And that's the first one that I started reading and following the website actually years ago, reading about the machine drum and the MS-2000 gear reviews. Yes, on Sonic State website. But I mean, the YouTube thing has changed. That's an interesting thing.
Yes.
And I've been very working close to it. I guess I'm kind of like on the line. I mean, I'm a product specialist for a company, and in my own channel, I put my own music on it. I think there's one or two videos that I speak to the camera in terms of explanation the overbridge, how I use it in the studio at the time, which was really good times actually, very different times now. But yeah, that's so. I don't really see myself part of it. But however, if I do see myself part of it one day, I would like to do it in a very twisted way. Yeah, something that I always have it in the back of my head. One day maybe. But my channel is, in terms of YouTube, where my channel is, I guess, is I just post the music that I enjoy doing there, and showing what gear I'm using and how it's made on the spot. And that's one thing that I really like showing is, you create the music on the spot, and it's like you can't change it, and that's what you capture. And you spend a lot of time on these machines to get this perfect balance of these ingredients that these machines can put out, and you record that. And when you do, I don't think you're only recording the audio, you're recording some kind of time or some kind of memory, diary. Yeah, yes. So that's what my YouTube channel has been for me. Yeah.
Well, I guess it's different. Everyone is doing like differently. I do agree with you that there is many of them. Some of them they have been very useful, because when I started, it was really tough to get information out there about all the gear that we have right now. Like if I would start it, the first thing I would go is like on YouTube and check, which is the gear I can get, which is the best, the machine, which is, I would try to listen the sound, which I think it agrees with me, that I like, and all different opinions, not only the YouTuber, but also like the different comments in the section, that people actually commenting about it. That gives you a good input on what to get, what not to get. But it is also really important to don't forget that we all make music. But it's kind of like not forgotten, because every single YouTuber has a different style, for example. But I think it should be the common thing, where everyone is talking to musicians. They can't forget we all make music, whether it's like as a hobby or professionally. We all make music, and we're all here because of that, just for the love and passion for gear and music. So I just wanted to know your opinion about it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I guess there's two sides. Did you finish the question? Sorry.
yes, I did.
Yeah, I guess there's two sides to it. One is that you're showing off the gear, and that's how the channel is working out. People are clicking on your channel because there's a new gear, and then they want you to talk about it, and you don't, really make music on it, or you do. And
making music is also a way of showing you how the gear can be played.
Mhm.
Because one of the things that in my own experience, I'm not talking about like is the thing, I'm not saying that this is the right thing, but in my own experience, I got really into Elektron. The machine that I got me into Elektron gear, it was analog rhythm. I remember like seeing it around, it was like, what is this? And it looks cute, it looks nice, it looks black. It was black at the time, and it sounded really nice. Like the thing I remember, I think I told you many times, the thing that I really loved, it was going to any club and I could listen that kick drum and I could recognize that is the analog rhythm. And that's why I play it today, and that's why I like it so much. And I don't think, as much as I love other drum machines, I also had like Electribe, and I have right now the DFM, which just sounds really cool too. It does not offer me what I wanted, and that's the whole point. What I got into Electron machine through the rhythm. So it actually made me change my mind because I was only playing modular. So I do think that it is really important not only talk about the machines because it's good. I follow Loopop, which is awesome. This guy is like a manual walking manual. But I think it's really important not forget to just like sometimes not talking and just expressing things through music is also really important. Just my opinion.
and that's where I guess the message gets a bit blurred with the YouTubers, I guess, because one is like you're trying to give an impression of this device because the manufacturer gave the unit to you, and you're trying to use that via the language of music.
It's forgotten.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't really know the details, so I cannot say much about it. But I think it's important to what I would say with the situation that you were asking, because I would like to answer the questions properly because I'm just chatting so many things, juggling many things. Is that it's important not to be sidetracked with the gear. I'm just going to be able to release this in time, so I'll just quickly do the music and there it is. That's something, that situation that I noticed, that is like, oh, there is quantity over quality. Yes, that's the word, I guess, is very applicable in this case, in my perspective. Yeah.
There is another question from one of our viewers, and just to change a little bit the mood about YouTubers. And this, not to be understood as a complaint, why Octatrack cannot mute at sequencer level, but if you clear a pattern and undo clear it, thus it is keeping the tails. I don't know if...
Well, Octatrack cannot mute at the sequencer level. No,
Yeah.
it mutes at the audio level. That's how it is. And I totally agree with, you're saying it's not as a complaint, but I totally agree with your question. And I think it should have been a setting in the personalized menu where you should be able to mute at the sequencer level or the audio level. But again, it is what it is. I don't know why it necessarily cannot do that. It's just built like that. That's how it is. But when you say if you clear a pattern and undo clear, it does it keeping the trails. I don't understand that part. Yeah, tails. What's the? Yeah, I don't get that part. But anyway, if the person can, promise.
Yeah, you can develop this a little bit. This can get answered very quickly. It's very easy. Well, if anybody does not have any other questions, I'm just gonna keep with mine. Um, Tell us something funny that happened to you while performing.
Oh yeah, I got kicked out of the stage.
Oh, what?
Yeah, in Sweden. Yeah,
Why? Why were you playing that?
I mean, yeah, it was kind of like this company that we were working with at the time on a project as a consultant. That's the wording. They had this Christmas party, and the guy who was arranging it, I think he liked my music or something. I don't know. So he said, "Yeah, you should play." And I said, "So what is the event?" "Yeah, it's the company Christmas party." I said, "Yeah, but you're in this business." "Yeah, yeah, but I think it's going to be a bit, maybe I don't know the wording, but a bit uptight. I don't think my music is suitable." That's the conversation I took it to. I remember. "I don't think are you sure my music is going to be suitable?" "Yeah, it's going to be great." "Okay." Yeah. And this was like my first year in Sweden, or no, not the first year. That would no, this is longer. 2 years or 3 or something like that. Yeah, 2, I think. Yeah, yeah, 1.5. Still new. So yeah, and then I went there. I set up, and then I noticed that yeah, this is not really the type of place that I don't think people are gonna really enjoy what I'm playing, but I'll play anyway. See what happens. And yeah, I started playing, and before me there was this DJ, and it was playing this Daft Punk and everything else at this maximum volume. And I mean, Daft Punk is a good example, but he was playing all the other cheesy stuff. I'm saying Daft Punk because I recognize that in the 2-hour set that the person played. But yeah, so then I started playing, and then I guess people were like, "What the hell is this?" And yeah, and then there was supposed to be a band playing after me. So in like 20, 15 minutes later on, the band drummer, he started to play alongside with the beat that I'm playing on the octa track, and making some stuff on it. And then I was like looking at him like, "What?" And he's trying to play in time, and
Yeah.
I'm like, "If you're gonna play in time," so I'm like clapping my hands. And no offense, I felt like I was a monkey trainer because I was on top of the stage and I was clapping at him because he was on a lower level and I was at a higher level. And yeah, he just could not play in sync. And then I looked at the sound guy and he was like, "Well, what does that even mean? I don't know." I guess it meant that, yeah, you're going to jam together, jam. Yeah. "Oh, so yeah, you're telling me that my music is too boring that I have to jam with these." Okay. And of course, it didn't work. Then I just made some really harsh sound on the stuff, and then I unplugged it, turned it off. So I got kicked out of the stage basically. And then yeah, it was not. It was very weird experience. So I don't know if that's funny because at the time it wasn't.
I
Uh,
mean, I'm laughing now, but I can assure you that if that happens to me when I'm playing, it's not funny though.
no,
Like,
it's not. And
enjoy that.
I mean, honestly, when thinking about it now, hands up, I just say I'm a straight person anyway. I say things honestly. It was not okay to treat any artist like that. But it is what it is, and that was my worst experience or the worst funniest. At least I can laugh about it now. I mean, damn it, that drummer trying to play in sync with an octa-track sequence, which is like, what the hell? Can't you count? Well, I guess he can count to his drunk guitarist. But,
I'm actually remembering now that I mentioned this to Trovarsi in the first interview. I remember when you were playing at Seabase and the gear just fell off
ooh,
from the desk.
yeah. But was that in Seabase? That was in Sweden, I think, the one that's fell off.
No, that was super good at Seabase.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
That you were playing with a hydrosynth and the desk was like this big, this tiny space.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was funny though. Like, and you cut it really quickly.
I mean, that's a funny one, yeah. So I think I told the worst one. This wasn't so funny, right? in this Christmas party,
It's funny.
DJ and a band. Yeah, yeah.
Well, there is
But another time that I'd like to add to that story is, yeah, when I was working at Gear for Music, I had a colleague. He was doing this weird metal stuff, and they were touring in England. They were playing at the pubs, and they lost their contacts, and they were like, "Oh, can you do a little set?" It's like, "Yeah, of course, it would be great. Why not?" And this was like, yeah, I didn't even have a Dataline video. This was very new for me. It was the times that I was getting into it. Yeah, so I played, and even at that pub, it was taken really well. Because I'm not saying that it was the best piece of music that you ever heard at the time, but it was like appreciated. What he or she was trying to do. Yeah, I felt really good about that. I remember I knew it wasn't that good, and it was short and it was fun, but yeah, you know it's an interesting contrast. Yeah.
And what was your best stage experience? They asking here, and why? Can't see you.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to have a few, not so many, but a few. I think in Tijuana we played. That was amazing with my ex-colleagues, Daniel Troberg and Simon Kusel. Um, yeah, that was some really good stuff there too. Really, we did. But I think, yeah, I think I'm going to say that those were the highlights. Playing in the Tijuana club. What was the name of that club? Eating some tacos outside. Um, yeah, and then going back to the hotel playing RetroPie. Yeah, it was. And the door guy was extra nice to us. We didn't go back home empty pockets. It was yeah, very good. I think that would be the best. Yeah, playing in Tijuana. Of course, I played in festivals, and there was a large crowd, few of them. That was fun too. But the problem that I find when playing at these festivals is that I usually, yeah, I mean, yeah, not usually, but most of the time, I was going alone. I'm saying was because now it's the Corona era, no one goes anywhere. But the time that it was happening, yeah, I would go on my own, stay there for a few days, and I'm not complaining or whining, but it becomes kind of a bit of a chore, like yeah, okay, I'm gonna set up now. Okay, I need to be sober till this time. Okay, I play, it was great, or it was bad because this amazing Elektron sequencer, it couldn't do this. With something, it got locked. Because these things happen. They're not unbeatable. Something goes wrong, and the rest of the 2 days or half a day is shit. But in that case, in Mexico, it was having Simon and Daniel there with us and other people too. So it was like being together. And man, it's Tijuana. The tacos, goddamn. And that the juice, the cocoa, the brown thing, whatever it's called, cold.
Horchata?
Yeah, horchata. Oh.
Or horchata is the shit. I mean, that's like I would go for Mexico just only for 1 liter and go back.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Tijuana was the best. Yeah.
So regarding the question of the octatrack.
There's more, right?
Yes, I mean that clearing actually does the same that muting. So if clearing works at sequencer level, looks like it could be easily work with muting.
Yeah. You wrote something else now.
Yes.
Another one, if there is time, is there any trick?
Is there any trick you would like to share with Elektron in terms of sound quality, effects, or whatever that you usually use?
Yeah. But for the muting thing, I mean, yeah, it probably can be added in there. I have no idea, but yeah, it is what it is on the Octatrack. It's a 10-year-old machine too. So with the other question is in terms of sound quality, effects or whatever. But I think what I could say is that getting a good mix on the Elektron boxes is the one that is really makes it shiny, I think. Yep. So basically what I'm trying to say is that make sure you got the master volume quite high and your actual level is a bit down. So you have a good, nice headroom to mix multiple tracks. Because in some cases, I remember doing it when I first started doing this stuff. Maybe people don't, I don't know, but I did. I wouldn't really use a lot of volume. The volume would be like very low, so I would try to crank the tracks internally to get more, I could hear the, That's one thing that I find it really nice that it works on the Elektron box. And then if you start panning the sounds to get a good, better mix. But in terms of tracks, yeah, the Rhythm Dual VCO engine is really good. I really like that one. Yeah. And the control all feature on the boxes, I really like that one. Yeah. I wish they had the chance mode, the chance parameter with the boxes. Yeah, that would be really good. The model series has that, the chance, um, but the Digis don't. What else? I mean, it's hard to say. I think my main trick, maybe to say, is combining machines. That's one thing that I really enjoy doing, and trying to get a good mix out of them. That's, I always try to listen what's been coming out of the machines, because it's kind of very easy to get distracted of the lights and the knobs and the buttons, and you're not really listening to what you're doing. Yeah, I find that myself sometimes. Um, but that's another thing, trick maybe. Um, yeah, using a lot of the sound effects. I really like that one.
The overdrive, because I see that you kind of like when it comes to the levels, you use in a very different way of many people.
The overdrive.
Yeah.
You mean on the per track or the? Yeah, I always have overdrive. Yes, I mean it's a parameter. It needs to be used definitely. Yes, yeah.
But the thing is that you actually turn the volume of the overdrive to the max, if I recall, and the overdrive to the minimum. Is the other way around.
No, yeah, you can do it that way also. That's a good trick actually. It's like, yeah, you can crank the overdrive to maximum and then you put the level down on the amp page. That would be a good thing. On the Octatrack, on the Octatrack, I really like to put the bit reduction effect before the filter, so you can crank it up really hard and then you could filter it. That's a really nice one to do. Kind of a bit similar to the trick that you're mentioning. So basically, you're exaggerating something, but you're decreasing it in another way. So you have the tamed but angry sound. Tame and angry.
All right, this question is actually, it just came up to my head. Like, if you could have the chance of making your machine, how would it be? And which parameters you would add? How would you like to make it look? Like the whole thing.
My dream of
Yeah, your dream
machine.
box. Because I guess it would be a box.
I guess it would be, yes, yeah. Yeah, I think I would really like to see a mixer. Yeah, a proper mixer with effects and recording, looping, that type of thing. Yeah, something that is like has mixing and sampling capabilities. Yeah, basically like the how I use Octatrack. That's how I use it. It's like you can do sample playback and then you can do mixing. Basically, a bigger version of that. That would be my machine I'd like to do. But that's a bit more like an expected answer. What else I'd like to do is to find a way to combine gaming and music making. Yeah, that's very I think it's very, very interesting, because chance is very cool in sequencers and music, and chance is very relevant in games. So if you combine them in an experience in a way that is fluid and rewarding, yeah, I think it would be really nice.
I see you have modular gear. Are you into modular synths, and how do you play them?
No, I'm not into so much modular. I only have the effects. I'm not into making sounds on the modular, because I have a tendency of to be able to have the machines set so they sound the same for that period of time that I'm working on a track. Modular isn't so much like that, I find it. Or maybe I'm not good enough with it, I don't know. But with the effects, because they just play around, and there's an effect, it's quite obvious how it's going to treat the sound, as if you know it. Yeah, so I'm kind of more into the effects in the modular gear, not the sound generation. For sound, but mutable instruments, sound generation modules, they're really good. Though they would be my favorites. Yeah, yes. But I don't use so much modules, only effects.
All right. But you are into semi-modular then, because I also know that you play with the MS-20, or
So sorry.
like how do you then, if you don't use a modular to generate sounds, when it comes to semi-modular synthesizer like the MS-20, how do you play it and what do you use it for?
Yeah, the MS-20. It's a rare thing that I use. I don't use actually the patch bay on it so much. Just randomly, I would try to connecting it to an external device to get it triggered. Yeah, I remember using the patch bay in front of it. But yeah, for in terms of sound generation, it's never really been my thing. I'm a person that I really like to work in a platform that is thought out, that it does a certain thing in electronic music.
Hmm.
Um, Modular is like that, of course, but to be able to patch so much in and out, and to be able to not be returned, you cannot return to that state. It happens at the moment. It's very momentous, the modular stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah,
They're asking here, what effects do you like with the modular?
yeah. The Befaco crash delay is very good. Clouds is very good, and the latest one that I'm messing around is Soma's delay engine. Soma. Uh, it basically makes everything sound like a Lyra 8. Those are the ones that I'm using right now, and I'm really happy with them. They're very dirty and fuzzy and noisy. It just really complements the nice clean sound that you get from the electrons, which is actually a kind of a criticism that is that is camouflaged by a very polite thing to say as a sterilized sound. Because I think sterilized sound in electronic music is, in my opinion, is shit. I really don't enjoy it. It needs to be a bit dirty and noisy and fuzzy, and that's what the modular stuff brings to me. So I know those effects. Yeah.
You have also the Rampage, right? If I
Yeah, the
recall.
rampage is for the modulation. Yeah. So I modulate some of the parameters of the delay engine and that. Yeah.
So basically, you combine the digital, like super clean sound that you have in your gear
Yeah.
with the nasty sound from the analog modular.
Yes.
Good. There is another question which we started with, but if you could reply, what music do you listen growing up, and what is your strongest musical influences?
Yeah. I mean, for electronic music, I think Orbital and Prodigy. Actually, Orbital was the one that really influenced me to make music, and I Prodigy a bit, yeah, and other stuff like that. Um, and strongest musical influences. Uh,
Do you listen to music nowadays?
no, not so much. Nope. I listen to the sounds from these machines or computer games. Yeah. I'm not actually the person that sits down and listens to music anymore, which is kind of sad. I don't know. It kind of fulfills my desire with these machines when I hear from them. But growing up, which is a question, is yeah, Orbital, OVG, Apex Twin. I remember finding the Apex Twin CD, the Pirate CD. That's how you would get hold of CDs in Turkey back in the day.
Mhm.
It would be this guy standing there with like a box, and he would have these plastic sleeves. And then I saw the Richard D. James cover, the album, and I was like straight away, yeah, what the hell is that? I need to give listen to this. I don't understand what it is. Looking behind it, and it's like this shady copy that you can't read the backwards, so I have no idea what it is, but the cover looks cool. The smiling guy, right up my street. Uh, So yeah, I brought it in and I listened to it. So I thought it was a CD was skipping at first when I first listened to it. I was like, is that really the recording is correct? Something wrong. Yeah, just really weird, interesting experience. That. Then I had to double check that, yeah, it was correct. So once I heard it somewhere else, in those times, in those weeks, I was like, yeah, okay, so it is how it is then. It is meant to be like this broken. And that's the word. It's not sterile. It's just messed up and very interesting. Because I think that's what makes music very interesting. It's the accidents. It's not, yeah. It's kind of like there is an expectancy. You need to have something that is expectant happening in music. That's kind of part of the pleasure, because you're waiting for something to happen. But also it's the unexpectancy as well at the same time.
There is another question. Do you have a Nintendo 64 or PlayStation 1 growing up?
Yes, PlayStation 1. Nintendo 64 I couldn't because, yeah, I just didn't. But I really wanted the Super Mario World. Damn, that was really good. But yeah, PlayStation 1. And I had the Music 2000, where you could make music on it. It was a multi-track DAW inside the PlayStation 1, actually. Yeah, I made some few tracks on that. Yes. Very hard to get stuff going on that because you're using a controller. But hey, I mean, it's a big thing that they've done back in the day. It was made by Codemasters, the British company. Yeah, I'm really into gaming stuff. So yeah, PlayStation.
Which console do you have right now?
I've got a lot. There is an Atari 2600, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. There's a cracked one. PlayStation 4. There's a Nintendo, Super Nintendo. There's the Amiga 1200. So charming. I love that machine. Because I grew up a lot on the Amiga. That's what I had when everybody was getting the PC stuff, when the CD-ROM was coming out. Yeah, it's 8-speed, 16x. These weird CD-ROMs. Oh. Every month you had to buy a new part for this abomination of a box that, PC growing. I hated them. God, I was, yeah. But yeah, so it's Amiga. I have another Commodore 64. Yeah, there's a PSP too. Maybe I'm missing out something. I'm not sure. Yeah, I have a lot of consoles. I really like them. But I think Amiga is going to be my favorite console. Yes.
Yes. I do love the sound of it. It's amazing. So going to the next question, where do you think the synth industry is going nowadays? Where do you think the market is going? And is two in one, like where do you think, what do you think about the synth industry nowadays, and where do you think that is going? Lovely question.
Yeah, I think it's getting more popular. That's a good thing, and also a bad thing. But everything is like that. It has a pro effect and a con effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's growing. What's gonna happen? Maybe what my guess would be, or what I'd like to see. Of course, more machines like this, more memory, and a better screen and better connectivity. That's what I would expect. But one thing I would really like to see is some kind of like an augmented reality in terms of machine stuff. Like, for example, you wear these glasses and you're using a interface like an Elektron box, but the glasses actually pick up on the design of the panel, and they actually have a hologram on the augmented reality when your glasses is actually applied. So you see some parameters on top of your hand. That's something I would really like to see in the synth industry. Yeah, some kind of like a bit of a virtual reality type of thing. So a bit more Roadrunner, not Roadrunner, Blade Runner type of music instruments. But I mean, when you think about it, when I see what they can do with the phone camera, yeah, it's like probably can do this. But hey, you have to wear. I'm talking about these shades. Yes. That's when you put them on, that's a whole different technology. So that's quite far ahead. But in the closer time, getting back to the question, yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, there's gonna be more synths, of course, and drum machines. Behringer is gonna be more Behringer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also another question. What do you think about the man and the company and what they're doing? What's your opinion about it?
And no, my opinion is that no, I don't really enjoy what I see from them. No, no, no. One thing is maybe worth mentioning is that they're doing what people want,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
we
So
public,
to
but
explain what I'm trying to say is what people want. Yeah, they want to be able to buy that 808 machine, for
yeah.
example, just like as it was back in the day, but in current state and a more usable way. But it has that sound and it has that technology, and it is a good representation of that brand. But it's not happening. So and it hasn't happened. I mean, I don't want to point any fingers, but Roland they remade their iconic machines from the past, uh, but they are not like the original. They're very far from it, almost like toyish way. I have them both. I love them, but you know they're not correct. And you look at the Behringer stuff, which I'm trying to compare it with. I mean, they're more correct in that sense. They're at least they have that analog thing. In terms of sound, yeah, I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is that I would have personally loved to see that each brand did their own iconic devices in these modern times, rather than Behringer doing it. Because if these companies did it, then maybe
Mhm.
Behringer wouldn't have done it.
Do it definitely. If yeah.
Yeah, and when I look at the comments on the Behringer stuff, I follow it as part of my work. Some people love it, some people don't like it. So there is a forward to this. People like it, some do, and I can understand the desire. But from my point of view, personally, as much as I'm very attracted to that goddamn Behringer 303 bullshit, I mean, I can't see myself buying it because of many other reasons. That is just so many to talk about. Um, yeah, I don't, I'm not very happy with it. I'm happy that more people have access to getting these things. That's great. And yeah, let them enjoy themselves. And I'm repeating it again. That enjoyment should have come from the actual owners, not from a copycat owner, which you look at the history, he was doing, not he, but the Behringer as a company was doing the pedals and the mixers, the Eurorack mixers, you know. Yeah. So, it's Behringer. They're doing the same thing for the synth industry now. I like I think I'm going to get shots for saying this, but I like the Moog remake they made. The Model D.
The Model D.
Yeah, they added the delay or sequencer or the chorus effect or something. Yeah, I think that was a bit of a, yeah. It's like, yeah. And I thought to myself, why doesn't Moog make this? Why don't they make the actual Model D and add a nice effect on it and a nice distortion and, really go with the history and bring it modern and push it forward? But it allows Behringer to do it then.
I mean, I guess let's not forget that he's a businessman and he saw a gap in the market and he's trying to fulfill it as much as he can.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, there are other like things to consider, like moral and and other stuff, but I can understand why people is finding and thinking that he's like the type of like Robin Hood of synthesizers.
God
But
damn. Robin
but
Hood's cool.
let's not forget that he does have the money and the resources to make his own thing. So yeah, he just keep doing what he's been doing, always like copycatting and ripping off others people's design. In this case, I think he's making a bit better and pushing that analog because of branding terms more than being super nice dude and giving what people want. It's just my opinion. But yeah, there's a comment here. Behringer is just feeding impulse buyers.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's true.
Because it is like that. It's like I remember people who actually had the original 303 saying
Machine Drum Mark III. Sorry to cut you there, but I just
kind of
saw
like
Machine Drum.
Beshine drum, Beshine drum Mark III from movie.
That is one of the best names ever.
Let's touch wood that
Drum.
not happen, please, 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 please don't even say that. I mean, I heard people say like, man, I mean, it's just 150 euros. Like
Yeah.
that's it's just so quick, and like I know, and I don't like it either, and I have the original one, but at the end, like 150 euros is not as much, and just, people just bought it because of that. So I think, yeah, you're kind of right. Like it's very cheap for like people who just like can just spend 100 euros. They're just at home, like we are right now, and they can afford that. And at the beginning, I think like we all kind of, my first mixer was Behringer. I had no idea who the guy was. I had no idea anything about the market. And then I remember after 6 months, I was like, what in the hell is this? And we're just falling apart, just sending it back to the retailer because it didn't work. And it's that first thing that, like my dad, that like less idea of like a mixer is, and he bought it for me. So I think he is doing the same thing, but in the same market, just trying to feed the people. And at the same time, I gotta thank him because that was my first mixer. Of course, then you just go and buy another one, a better one. But yeah, it's, that's what he does.
But the machine drum is needed.
Bashir. Just don't even say it.
So,
Okay, a few more questions here. Going back to the gaming question, which is your favorite PS1 game?
what a question.
All of them.
Tough. And PS1 was very important in gaming because it was the first, not the, well, yeah, you could say it was one of the first proper 3D gaming consoles. Before that, everything was like 2D. And then Nintendo 64, it was in the same era with the PS1. So it opened a lot of stuff. I think my favorite, Metal Gear Solid, of course. That's the one. Yeah, because it was so long, and then there was a massive twist at the end. If people haven't played it, listeners, yeah, you have to play that game. Unfortunately, today the graphics are not going to hold up so much, but yeah, I think Metal Gear Solid, favorite PS1 game. Yes.
Well, we have new people joining.
Resident Evil 2, that is very good too. Yes, and it came on 2 CDs, and the artwork on the casing was damn good. Yes.
There is also another question regarding to, well, your opinion about it, like machine drum or rhythm, analog 4 or modern machine. I own both and I love them, but I believe the old generation is in some way better.
You mean the old generation of the Elektron boxes?
Yes.
Yeah, I can totally relate to, yeah. In some ways, yeah, I can relate to that, yes. Yeah. Just like a sequel in a film, the sequel is not going to be good either.
Like Star Wars, for example.
Yeah. Oof.
Let's not get into that, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, there is also somebody saying there is no need for a machine drum Mark III, but a firmware update would be awesome. Do you think that's
I totally agree. Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Do you think that's ever going to happen?
Yeah, it's very unlikely. I don't think so. I would be very surprised if it happens. But yeah, and a sequencer, well, a firmware update that makes the sequencer like the current sequencers, like you have the tree conditions and the scale per track, and fuck, that would be amazing on the machine drum mono machine if they, because that's my only gripe with them. So I agree. I wouldn't want a Mark III. I would prefer the firmware, definitely, if possible. Yeah.
There's another comment which I need to say because it's really fun. I would be very tempted by a Bono machine.
Bono machine.
You
What is Bono?
like from Behringer.
Okay, yeah. Uli machine.
Yeah.
Unlimited Ulis per track.
Okay, you guys, like the ones are like, welcome everyone again. I was just joining right now. Again, feel free to ask any question. That's we're here. We're gonna stay for a bit longer, a bit more, and yeah, whether it's like games or food or just any other question related to gear. I'm gonna keep on going on my next one. Yeah, there's somebody saying, come on guys, the next year will be the 20th anniversary of the silver boxes.
Yeah.
All right, let's move.
So what? I mean, yeah, it's gonna be like, I'm gonna feel so young.
We can make a gray pie and celebrate it.
Oh yeah, it would be amazing to see new silver boxes. Yeah, I would love that. Yeah.
What do you think that is missing in the market right now and inside of the industry? Because they're both separated, in my opinion.
Yeah, like I said, I was saying my dream box is missing. It's not done yet. Some badass mixer with like sampling capabilities and even maybe a MIDI sequencer in there. But yeah, it's a performance mixer with these things, basically. That's I find it really missing in the synth market. Yeah, there's all these gears that you can, connect them together, but one thing to rule them all. Yeah, it's not happening so far. So I think that's what I'm missing in the industry. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of like kind of like repeating itself in a way. Like everything's got these 16 buttons next to each other. So it needs to be a bit of a juggle there, I think. Yeah. And just when I'm saying that, I see the comment there, the Pulsar 23 from Soma.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what they do, actually. They don't have that sequencer aspect. There's a sequencer there, but it's programmed in a different way. And that because of that reason, the musical output is different. The way that you're going to interpret what you want to input is going to be different. Yeah, and that's very cool. I think that's what's missing. And basically, it's like everything is becoming like, when I say this, the synth market, the drum machine market. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got sequencer and it's got multi tracks and it's got USB. Yeah. I really would like to see these. I'm not saying like, oh, it should be a new type of synthesis invention, like quantum modeling physics. I don't know, something like that. No, it's actually like all these stuff that we use, like a sequencer. Yeah, it doesn't have 16 buttons, but it's got a different type of way to input notes, and it really does make sense as a musical device, whether you tap it or whether you slide your finger. I don't know. That type of thing is missing, I think. So basically a different interaction into the musical technology and the culture that has evolved about the sequencers and synthesizers and samplers. Not inventing some new technology, but a different way to interact with the technology that is existing.
You play with it in LA, right? With the Pulsar.
Yeah, I tried it there, and I tried it in Superbook too. Yeah, I think it's amazing. I really would like one. Yeah.
But didn't you literally perform with it?
No, it was a Lyra 8. Yeah. The Pulsar 23 was Vlad. He was bossing that machine.
Yeah, he wasn't better now. Yeah, I do believe they are very unique in terms of how they approach the not only the interface but the sound and the way of playing the instrument. Which is
Yes.
very inspiring.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's you said it. There's like so many machines now. Yeah, it's got a kick engine, a snare, whatever. You load your samples. Yeah, I mean the Digitax kick is just as good as the other machines kick or whatever. I don't know. They're all different, sound different. What is very important is that how you put the information in there. I think it's the interaction, the interface, how the machine asks you to be used. Yeah, like I was trying to say earlier, what is missing in the market. Yeah.
Mhm. There's another question that's related to your latest live set at Hor, and Fabian is asking, could you explain very roughly what your setup was for that set? It was so good that I keep going back to it.
Yeah, it's actually the same setup that I have here. Yeah, it's the cycles and the octatrack and the digitone and then the modular effects. So the digitone is the master because it does pattern per BPM.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the sole reason that it is master actually. Yeah, the model cycles can do that, but that machine being a master, fuck, that's no. So yeah, the digitone is the master. Then the octatrack is a mixer. Yeah, it's basically a mixer, and then he has 4 tracks available to play samples. And then one of the tracks is used for master track, and then I've got 3 tracks in there that uses through machines. So so you have 8 tracks on the octatrack, but 3 of the tracks are assigned to input A, B. Another track is assigned to input A, and another one assigned to input B. So with that, what I can do is I can send the Q output of the modular system from the octatrack. So basically, I can say out of the 8 tracks on the octatrack, I can say which tracks that I want to send into the modular system. And then the modular system output comes back into the octatrack because it's a mixer. So I use it almost like a sound effects thing. Yeah, it's the octatrack is the star of the show there, I think. And then the cycles making those nice drums because the sound of the model cycles is really good. That's why I use it. For me, the hardware it doesn't speak to me. I prefer the other type of buttons, but of course they're there for a reason, and that's the price tag shows that it's a different type of product. But the sound is really good, so that's why it's in the setup. And the modular effects, there's like 3 delay engines there, and then a modulator, and then a reverb. And there's a lot of like drum samples on the octatrack, like breakbeats type of thing. So I think they go really like a real drummer playing that type of, not a real, but it sounds a bit more real than a drum machine, especially cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very good combination like that I really like doing on that.
Yeah,
there's somebody else saying something with the motorcycles.
the motorcycles is ugly. I agree. Actually, this is a question that I would like to ask you, and I was like discussing about it on a forum. I think if Diego's still here, like he can agree with that. That I would like you to say, like, which would be the like if you weren't like if I wasn't into electron machines, had no idea how they work, the workflow and the sound and everything. I would like to get into it. Would you recommend me to get? Which machine would you recommend me to get from Elektron as a first one?
The Digitax.
And why?
Because you can load in any samples into it. So it can be anything. It can be a bass, kick, snare, vocals. And I think it's quite instant. It's the most instant Elektron box. It doesn't have kits or parts. So it's very easy in the data management. So you just save your pattern and your BPM is saved and your sounds are saved. None of that hard data structures like a kit or a part in the rhythm, the analog machines and the octatrack. And I think ultimately, when you said first to how to get into Elektron boxes, you said, because once you know the Digitac machine, you're going to know the rest of the units because they work very similar. The model line isn't like that. That's another gripe that I have with that personally. Uh, they work in a different way. Uh, yeah. Uh, so yeah, if you learn a Digitact, you pretty much know 60-70% of the other boxes. You will feel a bit home. So that's a good thing to have in that sense. Somebody's saying Octatrack, yeah, sure. Then you're just going to hate the brand in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it is one of these pieces of gear that I'm still afraid of touching, not because of like it just takes a lot of time. That's the whole point.
I mean,
It is a massive curve lesson, and you'd need, I think, in my opinion, up to 6 months to get used to it. I think Octatrack is hell for me.
I think why the Octatrack is regarded as a very difficult machine like this, in my opinion, is just because of the part system. It's just a very hard design, a very specific way, specific, very important part of the data management for the machine, but is allowed only 4 instances for over 16 patterns. And that, I think, it makes it very cumbersome. Yeah. So basically, you make this music when you're learning this machine. Oh yeah, that sounds good, but I want to start something new. So you go to the other pattern, but the problem is that other pattern that you just started doing now is using the same sound structure, which is called the part, from the other pattern. So when you made this new pattern, you've destroyed the first pattern that you were happy with.
Yeah.
And this is kind of, it's a very, it's one of the issues with Elektron boxes, I would even say. And that's, you were asking me what was the most input that I was, happy with to be able to give to Elektron in the creative process was that the pattern contains all the data. So you don't have to mess around with kits.
Yeah.
So and Octatrack was made in 2008-9, and it was released in 2010. It's a whole different time it was made. So I cannot, complain about the machine structure. I'm just basing it as a fact that I think that's one of the things that a lot of people get stuck on. I personally find myself getting like tripped over it, like, oh shit, I was changing all these track sounds, and they messed up the other pattern. Yeah, and I've been using this machine a lot in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So if that aspect was thing, I think it would be heaven for you, uneven, not hell. But I'm just I guess, who knows how you were using it? Because some people will talk about the pickup machines, the looper engines, being very tough to use, and they are. I cannot comment on it much because I don't use it much. I've only used it because of work or just to try it out. Yeah, when I try to apply it to my music, yeah, it's too much. It's not something that I can use. But I think it's a great experimental tool, the pickup machines. Yeah, you can just loop what is coming in very quickly. For that, it's very cool. But if you're going to use it as a multi-instrumentalist would do, that you take as a looper pedal, if you're going to use the pickup machines in that scenario, then that's a very consuming, very regarding task. Yeah, demanding. Sorry, not regarding, demanding task.
Yeah, Mandin is actually saying I was using the parts as performance tool as I can remember. Pickup machines were hell for me.
Yeah. Yeah, parts really confuse the person. Yeah, of course it does. Yeah. Yeah.
So nowadays, which would be the piece of gear that you will never get rid of?
Only one?
Not just, or many of them, or all of them.
Which pieces? Which? Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, I wouldn't get rid of the Lyra 8, for example. That's something that I will keep forever. Yeah, very special machine. The Octatrack, of course, the Digitone. Yeah. The Bastel Instruments Micro Granny. I really like that one. Yeah, there's a few of those. The OP1. Yeah, That's a very special device, I think. It's very, it's like an Egyptian artifact almost. The mono machine and the machine drum too. I can't get rid of them too.
There's another question. What's your favorite gear coming out in 2020?
I don't know what's coming out in 2020.
From Nang, for example, that you
Yeah,
will.
I think the Polyan tracker is very interesting to me. Yeah. There's the MPC one, and there's the MPC Live 2, which has got the studio monitors in the unit, and at the same time, it's still portable. I think that is my favorite gear in a different category of favoritism. Yeah. But the Polyan tracker, I'm really enjoying it. I'm lucky to have one for a while now. Yeah, it's really, really good. What else? There was a few other. I can't remember now.
What do you think about the remakes? Like just talking about the wave state that they.
Oh yeah, there's the wave state. Yeah,
what do you think about nice. Like the ARP and the wave state? Like we talked about the clones, and now let's get into the remakes. What do you think about them? Like, is it a good idea? It is. What do you think? Like they sound like? Have you get to play any of them?
I mean, which remake in particular?
Basically, the new ones. Like the latest ones were the wave state, the ARP 2600.
The wave state, I wouldn't really say it is a remake. It's kind of like it is a new machine, but the sound engine is from the past. But I think the interface is different, that it turns into a different machine. But yeah, it can also be said as a remake because the sound engine is the same. Yeah. I think the remakes are nice. I like it. It needs to be done properly. Yeah, you can remake it like the Roland Boutique style, which is kind of like very, I can't really put my finger on it.
In the 90s.
Or you can remake it like the Korg, the MS-220 here. That's a proper remake. It sounds as close as possible to the original. Yeah, that's how it should be done. I really think in that way. I mean, if it was analog, then it should be analog. Yeah. And also, a remake, another thing we discuss this a lot too, actually, at work sometimes. It should be something that is superior to the one before. That it should say, oh yeah, they've upgraded to this. It has this because it does that. Rather than like, you don't change the original thing it does, but you add a little component that it allows you to do much more with the existing thing. That's something that is very important, I think, for remakes to happen.
Guys, I think that it should be adapted to the times that we're in.
Yeah.
Like just remake it for better. That's it.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. And what is allowed in these times also? Back in the day when that machine was made, whatever it is that is remade today, they didn't have all that stuff that they could put in there in that small space, but now you can. And so, the designers shouldn't be lazy with a remake. They shouldn't just hide on the fact that, people are just going to design it because it is a remake. They want it from the past. That I wouldn't like that about remakes.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, the MS-20 should have that MIDI CC. I totally agree, and I thought it did, and I was disappointed that it didn't. At least it has MIDI input.
Yeah.
Which is crippled.
All right. Is that why you don't use it?
I don't use the MS-20.
Yeah.
I think MS-20 is a great bass synth. It's so huge. It
Yes.
looks amazing. And a part of the thing with these machines that I've been collecting over 20 years now, you know, it's not it's the sound they produce and also how you interact with them, what they are, how they feel. And as you're touching it, the sound is changing at the same time. So you're touching and you're feeling and hearing at the same time. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
I
And
think Korg, in my opinion, has one of the best interfaces out there because it is what you read in and what you see is exactly what you're gonna get. There is no like, in terms of like, if you are new into this and you actually want to learn and you don't know, like super deep stuff into like synthesis, it is a great way to get in your hands on a Korg synthesizer and try to learn that. And that's how I learned. Like my first drum machine was an Electric. The first like proper synthesizer I ever had, it was the Mini MS-22, and I still think that the Korg synthesizer, the interface, have literally the best ones in terms of being clear. I mean, it's not like the super cutest one, but they are what you see is exactly what you get, and they're really good. And Fabian is saying that I'm also like a huge fan of the
yeah,
MS-20 filter. It's nasty motherfucker that I love. Yeah, and there is even an educational version of the MS-20, and it's exactly for that. That is perfect. I remember when we were at the school, that was the synthesizer we would recommend to the students, and that would be the one we would use for teaching synthesis because of that, of how exact and clear it is to learn with.
yeah, and I remember the MS-20 came with a book. The manual was very educational. Yeah, that doctor was so cute.
Yes,
That was somewhere.
yeah, it's really really nice. Okay, guys, we are gonna have the last 10 minutes. We have been gone almost for 2 hours now. So yeah, just feel free to keep asking any question you wanna ask. And in the meantime, I'm gonna ask a few more. What would it be your advice to a developer that wants to get into this industry and design synthesizers, and to a musician?
For a developer, I don't know what to say really. Yeah, but for a musician,
In terms of your experience, I mean, you work with developers, so
yeah, uh, yeah, what to say. But I guess best advice is that you need to you have to be confident about yourself. It's a kind of a harsh thing to say at first, but I think it's one of the important things that you got to say that yeah, I'm going to do this, whatever that you have in your mind. But for a developer to be able to get in this industry, yeah, I would say my favorite developer would be like using all these machines and trying to figure out why they're made in that way and how they're made, of course, but also why. Because the developer will know how to make that thing. But
Mhm.
also, what's important is that why is the interface made like that? Because developers' mind set of mind, in my experience, it works very different to an artist or a user. Um, so that's one thing I could say maybe. But for an artist, I think it's very would be cool to good to focus on a brand that you really like and use their gear and stay in touch with them. That's pretty much what I did with Elektron. Um, but of course, if you want to get into this industry, if you want to make your own music, yeah, you just keep on doing it and posting it in the best way possible and have a really nice art style or whatever that is cutting edge about the person's music. But for coming into the industry, it's unfortunately it boils down to the connections too. It's who you know, who you've been talking to, um, and yeah, and for people who manage to get into the industry, if you do,
Mhm.
you make you will be disappointed.
Yeah, you will. Just that saying, don't ever meet your idols. It's true.
I don't know how to, put that. Yeah, you know, it's not as straight as, it's not as nice as it seems outside. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to explain that. I guess it really depends on where you land and how it happens for the people who are trying to do this. And you have to start somewhere. That's also. I started working at the retailers, and I really enjoyed what I was doing with the machines, and that I just kept on doing it. And I, by chance, started publishing it, and I got attention. Yeah. So basically, that's what I can recommend is basically, first be happy with yourself and be confident with yourself what you're doing, and then it will carry on from there. You just keep on going at it, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's investing time, not only making music on it's just meeting people in the community, I guess.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Mhm.
I also think like I also know like if you go very like with your mindset just focus on like, oh, I'm just gonna get contacts from the industry. As I am trying to show here, we all are humans and we have this, we share the same passion for things, whether it's food or games or music. So somehow, yeah, just keep making music and just keep just meeting people and trying to get into the community. And also, it's like, I think it's a personal growth, but it gets not only musical.
Yeah, it's also that part as well. Yeah, it's a bit of luck as well too. Fortunately, yeah.
Yep, a big chunk of that.
Yeah. And in my case, I think I was lucky. Yeah, because I don't have a strong education background. As I was saying earlier, I didn't have, I didn't get, I didn't get to study the things that I wanted to study, um, and that was purely because of economical reasons. It really boiled down to that.
But talking about that, I haven't asked you about that. Do you ever get to study something related to the music production?
Yeah, I went to a course in England. It was a 3-year course, but I finished it in 2 years, and that was music production. But this is something that you go before university, and I wanted to go to university because that's what I should have been doing, but it was very expensive. Even though I was English, I was asked for an overseas foreign student fee, and they said, "Yeah, you're English, but you need to live here for this amount of years to be classed, to be eligible for the normal English student fee. It would be 5 years, so I would have to live there." But in that time, come on, man. So you're telling me that I'm going to be waiting 5 years and then I'm going to go to university and then I'm going to find a job. Well, in that 5 years, I will do it myself. And that's what I did in that sense. But yeah, it's a shame because, yeah, in life, this affects your career. And it has affected mine. I know. I see it. Yes.
Or would you have studied them?
Yeah, I would have studied more music, maybe computer engineering. That's what I was into, software engineering. Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
There is another question. Mandy's asking, I guess it's very hard to have connection with a big musical instrument brand and being a live independent musician as well. How do you feel about that?
Sorry, you were cutting again. Sorry.
I guess it is very hard to have a connection with a big musical instruments brand and being a live independent musician as well. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's a. Oh yeah, it was a question there. Yeah, it's a from the outside, I guess it seems like a nice thing, but yeah, you work with the machines, and then you have to do your favorite thing, making music with the machines again, and that's what the problem is in this case. But yeah, it has affected my musical output actually. Yeah, maybe it's not nice to say, but I don't know. It could be a reality. If I had never worked at Elektron, maybe I would have made more music by now. But I'm definitely sure if I had less gaming consoles, I would have made more music. That's for sure.
I mean, I think one fits the other. If you wouldn't have like gaming consoles, like you wouldn't make the music you make, and you wouldn't get into music, and
Yeah.
vice versa. So at the end, life experience is what I think it took you where you are right now. Also,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
okay. Do you feel bad about killing Hector?
Did I kill Hector? Who killed Hector? What happened?
You know, right? The guy they were using before as
Yeah, Elektron, Hector.
yes, exactly.
But Hector isn't dead. No. You mean like I replaced him? No, Hector wasn't a product specialist. No.
So he doesn't feel bad at all.
No, I didn't kill him. I don't. How can I feel bad? I didn't do
No,
it.
but I mean, I guess it's not like you killed him, but in a way that, you know, like that was to me, is still like the biggest and the most amazing piece of marketing ever synthesizer brand has ever done. It's still amazing until today. It was like kind of a movie to watch just for a product release. Then again, going back, you started like your career as a product specialist also of the beginning. I don't think any other brand has such a strong product specialist as you are and as Elektron has. So in that sense, you were the pioneer of that and you started that, and then they actually move on from Hector to you. So how do you feel about that?
I don't think they're really Elektron moved from Hector to me. No, I think they're very different. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I think Elektron should have kept Hector, and I think they should have done a video for each of their product releases. And the Hector should have been the character all the time, and he would find himself in different situations for each of the products. And I would even have gone further that I would be a part of those films somehow. That is a demonstration part, but then Hector needs to go somewhere else and do other things, and there's a storyline. But that storyline how somehow is, crossed between with my presentation. That I really wished for. I remember we were talking about this stuff years ago, but it's there are possible things and then there are impossible things, and usually my dreams are impossible. And yeah, that's what I don't like about it, because then you have your colleagues and other people that take you to the ground. Yeah. But yeah, it didn't happen that way. So it's unfortunate that Hector didn't last long. There's only 2 movies of him. It was for the Octatrack product release and the Analog 4. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I guess it comes to many other things. Like
maybe you could put one of the videos, the Octatrack.
I'm definitely gonna do it. Yeah, thank you.
You should search for Octatrack machine that makes music.
Is like, if any of you guys has never watched this, I'm gonna just play a tiny bit here, and I'm gonna add also the link so you guys can enjoy it at home and have a bit of popcorn. It's like a little movie of 7 minutes. So
yeah, and then you have to watch the next one, which is the Analog 4 release video.
Yes.
Yeah, the club video.
Yes. So just let's wait a second. I'm gonna play it now. It's really cool, and the production was crazy and awesome.
Morning, sir. Sorry about the short notice, but we have a mess here. 2 dead guards, 1 dead controller.
That's my colleague there, Yun.
Captured.
Yun Martinson. He's there, him. Yep. He's the body bag collector.
Excuse me? What do you say?
The guy who was collecting the arms. He's my colleague. So he was actually part of the video there.
Some pretty bad shit went down here, sir. some animals.
Anything on the fly?
No, it's a network problem, but we are working on it. Expect to hear from you soon. This way, sir. We have one survivor, no ID, no service number, no fingerprints, nothing.
What's the status?
It's over 9,000, sir. Physically good shape. He does have a hearing problem.
And there he goes, here, that sector.
Mr. Bob, this is Agent Herzog.
I mean, can you pause for a second?
Where are your
Yes.
papers?
It's like, imagine this is actually a synthesizer product release video. And it's coming from a company that a lot of people like, what the hell are they making now? What is that box? No one knows anything about it, but it sounds amazing. And it's this company who made machine drum and mono machine for many years and very highly regarded. And you're watching it like it's 3 minutes in. And you're like, what's going on? I haven't seen a single view of the machine.
Yes.
And that for me is such a very good marketing strategy. That's how you attach the hook in my thoughts, actually.
There's a question here. This is where the marketing money should go to. Well, that's another thing. There is a question here saying that the body collector guy, that he also brought the script.
Yes, my colleague Jon Mortensen, yes. Yeah.
Body collector and script writer is a fine combination.
I see that Fabian hasn't seen this video. Then we should continue watching, see what happens.
We are definitely, that's gonna be a good ending for this chat.
Yeah.
I'm also gonna post it here if you guys want to enjoy it later. Let's keep watching this because it's really awesome, actually.
I've heard things you people wouldn't believe.
Let's get straight to the point, shall we? I'm much smarter than you are. I'm not in the mood for games.
There was a man.
This man killed the guards and controller?
Bits and pieces.
Good for drones.
I'd heard he would turn up at the sessions. I thought it was a myth, a spook story. He had a device, a machine. He stepped up to the microphone and said, "Hello." It was the same beat, but at the same time it wasn't.
You're a funny guy. You're a really funny guy.
Yeah, over.
Oh, the fly's online.
Say 1911.
Can someone update this damn network? Brett?
A machine that makes music.
I don't think you fully appreciate the seriousness of the situation here. I can help you.
The sound transformed back and forth, constantly taking new directions.
Nothing seemed impossible. Oh, gods, no masters.
He showed the priest of music what music really is.
Who was this man?
Hector.
The others, they just couldn't take it. lads. They all were gone.
Why weren't you affected? Why didn't you turn into one of them?
I don't know. Maybe it's because of my hearing condition. I'm tone deaf.
Do you know what I think?
Do you?
Insurgents.
And I think you saw it.
I swear on the grave of my mother.
They left you for a reason. We both know that this magical machine doesn't exist. So what did it have on you? Hey, debts? Your wife? They don't care about you. You're just a pawn.
No, why me? I'm nobody. Tone deaf.
Because you're nobody. Because you're tone deaf. You pathetic little shit.
Sir, you ought to come and take a look at this.
So, it seems like circumstances have changed. You're the only person who's seen this thing in use. I wanted you to try to remember what you saw. Try to show us.
But I can't move.
Do you have a light?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, did you hear about Greg and Lisa?
And that's it.
So yeah, I mean that's it's still today. It's smashing.
Is yes, amazing marketing. Whoever had that idea is just genius. I will post later on this link again and the one from the Analog 4, which is also great. And yeah, and that was intense. Yeah, I remember. So when I saw that the first time, it was really intense. It's still like awesome. Like still enjoying watching it today.
Somebody said they should have a video game based on this. That's awesome. Actually, there should be. And the aim of the game is that you're trying to find the guy who is killing people with that mysterious machine in clubs. Not killing them, but converting them. Yep. Could be a great point-and-click adventure game, actually. Yes.
Yes, this is actually can do so much things. Actually, marketing just be creative. I think. A few more questions, guys. If you want to add, we're about to leave in a few more minutes. Who is your synth hero or person you admire the most in the industry?
Nick Pat.
All right. That was very straightforward.
Yeah.
And which is your favorite computer game?
Oof, what a question. Favorite.
Today that you are loving it the most, because I know there's so many. It's like here.
Yeah, it's a very tough one. Favorite game of all times. Need to look at my RetroPie, the favorite lists. Yeah, what is it? I don't know. Of course, it can't be an old game, because the old games are usually like they're cute and charming, and they just finish in like 5 minutes. I mean, the effects dries very quick, so it needs to be a newer game.
Red Dead Redemption?
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah, that could be. But then still, I recently played Days Gone. It's a bit like Red Dead Redemption. And I mean, yeah, it's not a better game than Red Dead Redemption, but they've done so many things right when they've done so many things wrong in Red Dead Redemption. So basically, the game is worse than Red Dead Redemption, but some of the mechanics of the gameplay, they work much better and much enjoyable than what Red Dead tried to do. So yeah, that was a weird interest. Super breakout, somebody says. Yes. Actually, yeah, that gives me inspiration. My favorite game is going to be Crackout. I'll send you the link now so we can see it in gameplay. This is on Commodore 64. Yeah.
There is another question. Servando asked, have you tried Nanoloop LSDJ? I don't know what
Nanoloop.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. It's very cool. Very charming. Yes. But I mean, I'm not very experienced with it. No. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to.
He has a soundtrack too. God damn.
I'm going to play that last thing, but before that, I'm gonna do the last questions. How do you see yourself in the future? Would you like to stay in this industry?
Yeah, I'm really happy in this industry. Actually, I like it. Like I said, I'm really interested in how people, this technology meeting the creative minds. That's what I'm interested in. I'm not really interested in like, oh, it's going to be an analog synthesizer with this. I mean, I think all that is done. It's like all the synth stuff is good as it is. It just needs to be presented in a really clever and an inventive way. So it's, your brain reacts with in an interesting way. So yeah, I'd like to be in the industry. If not, gaming industry is very attractive to me. I would love to be a sound designer for a game, which I still would like to be, or a film. Yeah, especially I would like to be working for a game that is the sound aspect is very prominent, that the gameplay is intertwined, and I'd love to be a sound director for such a project like that. Yeah. Yeah, stuff like that, basically, all related to music technology. Yeah, that's what I would like to see being involved.
There is somebody saying that Elektron tried to license Nanoloop back in the day. I don't know if that's a question or a statement, but do you know?
I'm not sure. Maybe they did, but I don't really know much about that. No.
All right. And the last two questions. What is your favorite food and sweets? I know you're a sweet tooth, so that's going to be a tough one.
My favorite, the most favorite right now is apple crumble with vanilla ice cream.
You smashed it.
Yeah. And the food. I don't know, food. I like a lot of food. But I'm a very, sweet tooth guy.
Yes, you are. By the way, the person who said about the Nanoloop is S, so I guess he knows. Don't say bangers and smash. He's commenting too.
Bangers and mash.
Bangers and mash.
Yeah. I guess. Oh yeah, Yorkshire puddings. Yes.
Oh yes.
Yes. Favorite food is gonna be Class's Yorkshire puddings. Yeah. Apple crumble and ice cream, man.
You do like a fry up, don't you? Yes.
Yeah, but you need to be in Britain for that. It's a British food. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we love tacos and pizza and everything, so it's tough to just say one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, guys, last thing, I'm going to play the last video he sent me. Oh, yeah, okay, crack out. And with this, I'm just gonna say goodbye to all of you. Representing Yorkshire here too, Fabian. All right.
For life.
All right.
Keep it forward. I mean, that soundtrack.
Sounds lovely.
No, look at that. That's the sound effect, the boing. Yeah, this was a good track too.
It's really good.
Yeah. But I mean, this is a very charming game for me. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. There's, of course, many games that is better than this, but yeah, there is something very attractive, and I think that's why I say it's my favorite, because it's such a basic and a very simple-looking game.
Mm-hmm.
But I still spend myself a long time playing this, and I don't really like this type of genre game, in games. But that one is very special for me. That one, yeah.
All right, guys, this is the last
You can turn the music off when you're playing, so it's not annoying.
Yeah, they're asking this. Are you telling us, Cenk? That sounds fucking good.
Yeah.
The last question, I think that's the best one to end this chat. What is your favorite quote from Peep Show? As is asking, of course.
I think my favorite is going to be, and it's a question to S actually. What was the bad thing? What was the bad thing, S? Oh, that was the bad thing.
All right.
Yeah, people who watch it will know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys don't know Peep Show. You should.
And I'm not going to tell what it is. No, you have to watch it and find out what is the bad thing with Jeremy. He does something bad.
Oh yeah, right. Let's remember now. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining. It was really fun, though. Actually, I think it was the longest chat, 2 hours and a half. I hope you enjoyed it and got all the questions out of your chest. And yeah, I hope you guys have fun, are actually enjoying these chats, like now that we're all stuck at home. Thank you again. You guys are all making this really fun. Thank you, Cenk, for again accepting my invitation. It was awesome. And next week we will have another guest. I'm not gonna say who is it now, because it's gonna be the last one of the first season. I'm gonna take a break and then prepare. We're gonna have another season of Let's Talk Nerd next month with other guests, and it's gonna be focused on modular. But we're gonna have a very important guest next week also, who's a really cool guy. And if you want to rewatch the other ones, they're all available here on YouTube. And yeah, that's it. Thanks, Cenk. If you want to say anything, I'm down here.
Well, thank you. That's all I can say. I said a lot.
All right.
No.
Well, guys, thank you very much. And may the force be with all of you. Magic kisses and hugs. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.